All right, is it going? Cool. This is the Between Two Firms podcast, episode 1.
Wait a minute. Let's reframe this just 1 second.
These are good problems to have.
And what we can do with money to help our family over generations.
And working towards my entire career, I decided, you know what, I think I need to do my own thing.
And I'm like, awesome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nick Kobos, host of our new podcast, Between Two Firms, show where we talk to other firm owners and other folks in our industry and just kind of get to know what's working, what's not, talk shop, and have a place where we can go to, see what's going on in the world of running an accounting firm and not feel like you're operating in a total vacuum. So anyway, I'm joined by Matt. Matt is our showrunner slash my...
What am I? Yeah, my name's Matt, and I work with Nick here at Saga Accounting, and he had this idea to do the podcast if we didn't have enough things going on already. This was one more thing. And but I think it's value. I agree. I think that it's going to be valuable both for us to hear from other firm owners who face similar challenges and have their own unique way of approaching and solving them, and then also just recording it and putting it online so anybody else in the space can gain some value from it as well.
Yeah, no, and like you said, I think it'll be good for my ADHD to just add more shit to the whiteboard to-do list. So I'm excited about it. Anyway, this past week has been a bit of a dumpster fire for, I don't know, maybe
firm. For
me.
You were the firm, so
a little bit of both. I don't know. It's been a busy week. Dude, we had like 3 back-to-back client calls or sales calls yesterday, which I guess is a good problem to have, but still kind of a problem. And then, my wife decided to go deer hunting and with her favorite weapon, our Toyota Sienna, and she totaled her car, so we had to go buy a new car anyway. Classic within a week of buying the new car. Like, I don't know. I'm not
that
making
was
it, but some suspension
rest in peace,
issue,
Toyota
so.
Sienna. It was a nice van.
Huh?
It was a nice van.
It was. So anyway, been dealing with that. So anyway, total dumpster fire. But yeah, from a work standpoint, I don't know. I think it's been a busy week. I don't know about you on the bookkeeping side. How busy you've been?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy. Those sales calls end up funneling their way down into bookkeeping. So if it's a busy sales week, it'll be a busy bookkeeping week as well.
It's going to be a busy bookkeeping week in a week or two. Yeah. On top of all the just the keeping up with the work, I'm looking over at our whiteboard. The Good Idea Fairy whiteboard. And really the biggest thing we've done in the past week from a firm perspective is our very well planned, very well thought out transition or migration of our phone system from a combination of Google Voice and my AT&T work phone to Quo, which is
very well planned.
Yeah, very well planned.
If it was 3 months from now.
We did plan it, 90 days in advance. No, it was something that I thought about last Tuesday after hearing it on a Jason Stats podcast. And
I agree, though. I think it'll be a level up for us just having kind of like an actual VoIP system with kind of like a call tree hierarchy.
Dude, it already has been. Literally yesterday on my sales calls, I did one of them. One of them was on the new phone system on the VoIP, and what I love about it is it integrates with our AI note taker, which is we use a platform called Fireflies. Basically, it's a platform that links to our video calling system like Zoom, and now to our phone system, and just takes transcripts and recordings of all our calls and makes them searchable by AI. So basically, we can go in there and I can search, hey, what did I tell, whatever, insert a client name, John Smith. What did I ask John, or what did John Smith say about his, I don't know,
credit
when
card.
he get us the closing statement for his rental property from 2022. and it's just boom, it's just right there. And so no more legal pad covered with hieroglyphics in the middle.
Well, we haven't done away with the legal pads yet, but
Well, yeah,
we're
one step
making
closer.
strides. We're making strides towards legal pad annihilation.
There you go. So yeah, anyway, that's what we've been up to this past week. We got the Google Voice numbers jumped over. I got to jump over my traditional cell phone line, and I think we will be done. I'm sure there's a bunch of features in there that we haven't even scratched the surface of, but yeah, so far, really excited about it, and like immediate ROI.
Very featureful product, and looking forward to diving into it and utilizing it to as much potential as we can get out of it.
Yeah, you sound very excited about it. So anyway, with all that said, our first interview today was, or our first guest, Mourgan Reed-Cintron. She's a CPA from Brentwood, New York. She runs a small tax and tax advisory practice. And
yeah, it was interesting to hear from her. I hadn't heard of somebody who had, she had a family history in bookkeeping.
Yeah.
And then that kind of translated into her having an interest in being an accountant from high school. And so she's been pursuing that passion up until now, and she's way further in the game than us.
As far as like traditional accounting experience, right, like well-rounded accounting experience, certainly. Matt and I were both accounting converts and found accounting, after doing other things first. So we did not, neither of us grew up in accounting, and I would say our accounting backgrounds are fully bookkeeping and tax. Really excited about. We had a great time. It was a great interview, and it was great getting to meet Mourgan. I think with that said, let's go ahead and jump into it. All right. Well, here we are with our guest, Mourgan Reed-Cintron. We're super excited to have you on. Mourgan is a CPA from Brentwood, New York, and her firm is Tranquil Transactions CPA, a firm serving all types of clients, but with an emphasis in the wellness industry and solopreneurs. And so, Mourgan, we're really excited to have you on. Why don't we just start with you telling us a little bit about how you got into accounting and what got you from accounting into deciding to launch your own firm?
Sure. So thank you for having me. Appreciate your time. I actually knew I wanted to be an accountant for a really long time. I took a class in high school and full-on paper ledgers, T accounts, and all of that fun stuff. We started with a QuickBooks desktop software system in my high school classroom, and it seemed like nobody else knew how to use it. I got really into debits and credits and just had a blast, got an A. It was great. Realized how essential it was to business operations and decided I wanted to be involved in accounting.
Super cool. And so you knew from high school, you
Yep.
were like, I'm locked in. Okay. And so then I presume then that you studied accounting in undergrad? Or...
I did, yes. So both of my maternal lineage were accountants. Okay. So I wouldn't say they were CPAs, but they were bookkeepers and internal finance professionals. Gotcha. And so they inspired me to not only be good at math, quote unquote, but to really get to understand the business operations, and that in order to do that, you really need to understand accounting. So sure. I took that with a grain of salt and then went into this high school class and realized it again for myself. And I said, I'm good at this. I like this. It's really a way for me to get in the door of any kind of business. So
yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, that's wise.
Yeah, it was just so, I realized how much of a vital role it would be in any business. So I said, I want to be important. So I studied accounting.
All right on. No, that's super cool that you knew that from an early age. I don't know that it's that many high schoolers are getting the call to accounting, but it's cool that you kind of knew early on that that's what you wanted to do. And so, okay, and so then after high school, you went to college, studied accounting, and then what happened post? Did you do any internships, or was there anything else that happened while you were in college that kind of locked you in, or what was the college experience like?
Yeah, so I started at a private university in New York, Marist College. It's now Marist University, and
Okay.
they had a business management track, and I got there on a scholarship. So I was like, let's just see how it goes. I wasn't too thrilled about the school to begin with, but in going to a few of the accounting classes, I realized it was very much a theory class when my basis of accounting education was so hands-on and practical that it wasn't really a good fit for me. So I transferred out of Marist College and went to SUNY School and SUNY Plattsburgh. Love, go Cards. It was great. Um, and they had much more of the experience that I was looking for. We did a bunch of QuickBooks Online trainings, Excel mastery classes.
That's
Um,
cool.
I got to do an internship with a local business. It was an HVAC company, and I loved it. It was great. They had more of a QuickBooks Desktop situation with inventory management, and that was really cool to see in real time. And I just really, really liked my college experience as far as the accounting education was concerned. Socially, it was a little bit different. I was very involved, let's just say, in my schooling, so I didn't really do too much socially. And all in all, I ended up graduating with an undergrad in, uh, 3 degrees. I did
Oh
business
wow.
administration, accounting, and then international accounting, or sorry, international
Okay.
business.
Gotcha.
So, um, my end goal going into school, I wanted to be a CPA. So I said, how do I get to that 150 with my scholarship opportunities? So,
Sure.
um, I shot for that triple major so that I could get to as close as I could to the 150, and I got, the accounting major. So I um, got what I needed to sit for the exam. I got to like 139 credits with that triple major, and sat for the CPA exam. Didn't pass it for a really long time. I struggled with the CPA exam. I took it maybe like, oh gosh, 12 times. It was
Which
rough.
exam? Which one got you, or which ones?
Believe it or not, it was BEC. That was my hardest one. I took that like 5 times. I don't know
Gotcha.
why.
Hey, all that matters is the last one, right?
Yeah, and I had 274s along my journey, so that was a struggle. My husband can vouch for how upset I was. Um, and yeah, got to the 139 in undergrad, then passed all 4 of my CPA exams eventually. Then finished up, got to the 150. I took like a piano course and
Hmm.
a theory of color course to get to the
Sure.
150. And honestly, that semester being in school was so cool. I got to literally just do whatever I wanted as far as creativity was concerned, and still get the credits for getting my CPA licensure.
Right, to get you. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it got me over the hump. I graduated. I got my CPA license. Started my tax compliance firm right as I got my CPA. So
Oh, you
that,
did.
yeah, right after I got my CPA, I just said, hey, open for business. We're filing tax returns. I had some family and friends that just wanted their tax returns done and were really excited for me that I finally passed the CPA exams. So they said,
Gotcha.
hey, can you do my taxes? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? At the time, I had been in the tax business for about 5 years. So I had some experience with high net worth individuals, business entities, and closely held entities in general. So I figured doing family and friends tax returns was
Pretty easy.
easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. So you started your firm. You got your CPA license and started your firm pretty much immediately after graduation.
Yeah,
Is
my friends and family wanted their stuff done. I said, if I'm going to
hmm
do this, I'm going to create an entity. And I just started it. I branded it as the RYT CPA, which stood for Registered Yoga Teacher, Certified Public Accountant, and
Very
people
cool.
were reading it as the right CPA, which I didn't realize for a very long time. I called myself the RYT CPA for the longest, and people were
Right,
like, "Oh
with
yeah,
the
you're
cool
the right
Y. Like, that's
CPA."
pretty cool. Yeah, that's funny. That's super
Yeah,
funny.
so I started it off like that, and
Very hip.
for a while it was just kind of an integration of my yoga practice, how I used my skills in teaching yoga to study for the CPA exam and then eventually
Yeah.
pass. And people were excited behind that idea of financial literacy, wellness mindset, and perseverance. So we took that mantra mindset and transitioned it into the CPA firm that I have now. But going from the right CPA to Tranquil Transactions was a little bit of a different mindset. We started in tax compliance, like I said, mostly just doing tax returns for people who needed help. I was still working 9 to 5, and you know, we decided there was a need for tax planning, and people were coming to us saying, "Hey, you know, I know you filed my taxes, but is there anything I can do to not pay as much tax?" Especially at that time, the incoming federal budget was not very advantageous for a lot of people. They felt that they didn't need to be paying taxes and said, "Hey, do you have any advice for me?" So we transitioned from the right CPA to Tranquil Transactions as a tax planning firm and strategizing.
Gotcha. Okay, and so kind of change your offerings a little.
Yes. And I would have kept it the same name because I really like the idea of the right CPA since people started saying it.
Yeah, it's a good.
New York State would not let me keep that name. I was frustrated beyond belief because we tried for, I mean, we talked to a business attorney and they helped us file, even suggested DBA names, but the professional licensing board said my name choice would be considered superior. So we couldn't have the right CPA.
Oh, so the New York CPA licensing board was the ones that said you couldn't do it?
Yeah, well, not the boards per se. What was it? The part of the section of the Secretary of State that licenses professionals.
I gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, they told me that
cool.
name wasn't kosher.
Well, but now you're Tranquil Transactions and it's working out. That is funny about the right CPA. That is funny. You mentioned a couple things that if it's okay, I'd like to kind of circle back to. So you mentioned that when you started the firm, you were side hustling, like you were working a 9 to 5. Was your 9 to 5 also in accounting?
Yes, I've actually gone. My history is a little bit varied, I should say. I started as a forensic accountant right out of college. I was with a forensic accounting firm, investigations firm, and they were wonderful, honestly. They taught me so much about litigation support, financial tracing, a bunch of different methods about how to support litigation with financial documentation. That was cool. I didn't stay there for very long, though. I transitioned from there right into tax preparation. And we stayed at tax preparation and small business bookkeeping firm for a couple of years, couple of tax seasons, just to kind of like get my feet wet, so to speak. Sure. And then I think that CPA, you know, was a very small, that was a sole practitioner firm. So I don't know what happened there specifically, but one day they said, "We are transitioning your role. We need somebody that actually has their CPA." What I think happened was that CPA heard I was also studying for my CPA and decided that they needed somebody that already had their CPA.
Sure.
So it was what it was, and they released my position, and I continued studying for the CPA exam. Then I moved to a regional firm that did a varied variety of services, but they were doing internal audit, they were doing tax preparation, they were doing tax planning, they were doing investigative accounting. So they had me as a hybrid role in investigative accounting, internal audit, and tax preparation for a few years. So I got to do a whole bunch of experiences with nonprofits, with school districts, with individuals, small business owners, and then insurance companies and attorneys. And it was great. That was one of the best experiences I've had in my career, was working with them for a while. They let me, experience so many different fields in accounting.
Yeah.
And
Right.
yeah, then after that, it was I had gotten my CPA when I was with that firm, and decided that I wanted to kind of niche down and specialize. I went to a cannabis specialized firm for a little while. I learned a lot there too, but that didn't really work out. It was mostly tax preparation and learning about Section 280E and the beginnings of legalization for cannabis in the United States. It was fun, but I don't know. I may be using that experience to transition into more of like the wellness and the wellness market for Tranquil Transactions at a later date. Right now, it's not on our plan, but we'll see. After the cannabis firm, I went back into tax preparation full time, and stayed with high net worth individuals, closely held entities, estates, some nonprofit experience, but definitely varied experience across the board in my career.
Say, you've gotten to touch a lot of different kind of fields, and I'm sure. I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure that helped you kind of release maybe some of the FOMO you might otherwise have about kind of knowing what you want to do and specializing without worrying about what else is out there. So
Absolutely. I had a great mentor too. One of the best things that he ever told me was to experience as much as you possibly can in the field, because accounting, like I said, is so vital to every single business, that you have the opportunity to see what's out there with all of these different kinds of businesses and see what you want to do, what interests you specifically. So I really liked being able to have that varied experience, and I'm grateful for the firms that allowed me to do that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That is really cool. And so now you run Tranquil Transactions, and what does the org chart or the structure of your current firm look like? Like how are you guys structured, and what kind of work are you primarily doing?
So right now I'm essentially a sole practitioner. I'm the only CPA in my firm. I do have one other junior staff member who is studying for her CPA. I'm rooting for her day and night. She's accumulating her hours with us, and an operations manager, and then our creative director to help us with our social media presence as well. So we're 4 team members deep, and 2 of them are part-time currently.
Gotcha. Okay. And is the operations manager part-time, or is that a full-time?
Part-time.
Part-time. Okay. Cool. I want to circle back to the operations manager, because I'm curious kind of how you kind of define that role and what that looks like. But okay.
I figured, because I saw your background was in operations.
Yeah. My background's a lot. I'm enjoying listening about your background, because in a lot of ways it's like the things that I wish, or like the things I wish I kind of had in the accounting world. So I did not have a traditional accounting education or accounting background. I was in the Army, did that, did my initial obligation in the Army, decided I wanted to get out of the Army. Had never really done any type of formal accounting. My wife and I had renovated some rental properties and had done some real estate stuff, and I had done my own bookkeeping for that. But I mean, that's not just a small taste of accounting. But and so when I got out of the Army and decided, okay, I'm gonna get into accounting, I didn't really know exactly where to start. I had my accountant that was helping us with the rental properties was another Army guy who's a couple years older than me. I talked to him. He's an EA, or is an EA, and he was the one who was like, look, man, you can go back to school and do the CPA route, but it's going to take you, 3 years, or you can do the EA thing, and you'll be a little bit more limited, but if you want to do tax and bookkeeping, you'll be able to do that. And so that's kind of the path I went down. But so I did that, and then I worked at a public accounting firm for a tax season and kind of got some good reps, learned some stuff, like a lot of stuff to do, learned a couple kind of structural things maybe not to do, and kind of got some experience around like different types of returns, different types of clients. But I haven't had any audit experience. I haven't had any formal like industry experience. All my experience has been kind of entities and individual tax prep kind of clients, and then bookkeeping that we kind of worked through ourselves. And so it's cool to hear kind of what it would look like for, you know, the more traditional kind of route of like, okay, you're going to study it in college, then you're going to have internships, you're going to have, you know, your first job out of college, and kind of getting to touch all these different parts of accounting before you have to decide, okay, what type of accounting am I going to do? So
Yeah,
you know,
it's funny you say traditional because every accountant that I've met has had a different story, you know,
that's fair.
and
That's probably fair.
it doesn't necessarily have to start with you going to school for accounting because so many people don't, and then they end up in accounting anyway.
Yeah, no, that is true. That is true. And that's something that at the firm I worked at, there was a handful of the firm I was working at was in Anchorage. And Anchorage is, I wouldn't call it a military town, but it's, let's say, somewhat a quasi military town. And so there was a
As in
handful.
Alaska?
Yeah, as in Alaska. Yep. There was a handful of guys. There was one guy who was an older guy, CPA, who'd been at the firm for, I don't know, 10 plus years, who was ex-Army. And then there was a guy who's like a year or two older than me who was ex-Army and was working at the firm and was working on his CPA. And so there was a couple of people that had kind of similar transitions to accounting as what I had. But most of the, like, all the partners and most of the, that's not entirely fair. All the partners and I would say probably more than half of the seniors had that kind of like, you know, undergrad in accounting, maybe a master's in accounting, CPA, and you know, a good background in public to public, you know, jumping around public firms. And so that was kind of, you know, that's like my impression of, okay, this is what a big accounting firm looks like, or a mid-sized accounting firm looks like. And so that's part of why I want to do this, right? Because to me, it's so cool to kind of hear about how other people have gotten into it and what your experiences have been, and kind of, you know, I can't go back in time, but maybe through a little bit of osmosis, kind of pick up some of those experiences that you've gotten to have. So that's super cool. And so in your firm today, so you said it's you and one additional full-time, and then you have two part-time team members. Are you fully remote, or are you fully
Yes,
remote?
we're fully remote.
Okay.
Yep, we service all 50 states, and we are fully remote. I would say our concentrations, though, are definitely New York, where we're based, California, Ohio, Texas, and
Man,
some
the tricky
Illinois.
states. You're picking
I
tricky
know.
states. Was
Yeah,
that on purpose, or is that just because of the industries you specialize in, or how? I understand New York. You're in New York. I get that. But like your California, Ohio, how did that kind of come about?
So I would say it has a lot to do with SALT regulations, because in
Gotcha.
those states in particular, there's a lot of coordination between state and local entities. So opportunities for tax savings arise out of those states mostly. Even Texas too. Like they don't have a state income tax, but they have a couple of other reporting requirements for businesses. So compliance wise, I would say there's a lot of state and local tax regulations in our core offerings that are needed. So a lot of people in those states say, hey, I am paying an exorbitant amount of tax. I file this compliance report here. I file this to this local taxing agency. How can we mitigate some of this? Or is there any way we can strategize around having to pay all of this tax, file all these compliance reportings? So those tend to be people in my target market.
Sure. Okay. And I think that's a good kind of transition to one of the things I was wanting to ask you is how do your clients find you, or how do you go out and find your clients? Like what's kind of your process for finding new clients and new client work?
So we're still fine tuning that, honestly. Lately, it's been a lot of word of mouth referrals, but we're definitely looking into more social media marketing and things of that nature. But I would say it's mostly been word of mouth.
Okay. Gotcha. So from your existing client base.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, that means you're doing a good job. One of the things that we've been, that I've been, I don't know, favorably surprised with since kind of getting into this and launching our business is just how much of a need or a demand there is. And one of the experiences that, I don't know if this resonates with you at all, but I feel like, I mean, every week we're getting calls from folks, from potential new clients, and when we talk to them, one of the recurring kind of complaints or issues that folks bring up is just the fact that, hey, I've called like 5 other firms and everybody's full or not taking clients, or I've called 5 other firms and nobody answered their phone, or
Wow.
my existing accounting firm or CPA or whatever is either retiring or is trying to retire, and I feel. We met through the Realize community, and I feel like there's a lot of younger folks in the Realize community. But from talking to clients, I feel like there is, I see like just through their eyes what a shortage there is of folks who do bookkeeping and tax on their behalf. And I don't know if you've kind of had that experience or if your experience has been different up in New York.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I would say out of every 10 referrals we get, 9 of them say that their accountant is retiring or
Really? Yeah.
or not taking clients currently.
Sure.
Or sometimes I would say maybe every 20 calls we get one that says, hey, my accountant let me go.
Yeah. Proceed with caution. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you bring that up, because that's kind of one of the other things I wanted to kind of branch out into and ask you about. So once you pick up a new client, or you're looking at picking up a new client, what does your onboarding process for that client look like, and how do you kind of think through, one, your onboarding, and 2, what clients you let in the door, right? Like, are there any red flags where you're like, oh, maybe we're not a good fit? Like, how do you think about that and kind of execute that in your business?
So funny enough, I'm actually, one of my last roles was an onboarding tax specialist.
Okay.
So onboarding is kind of my specialty. We have like a checklist of things that we either red flag, look for, or like just analyze in the onboarding period. And it's always a onboarding period where we adjust once we find out what the client actually has, because they could say one thing, and when we go through the onboarding process, we go through the documents, we look at the tax returns,
You find another, yeah.
we find 10 other things.
Yeah, or 10, right.
Or some things that, a lot of clients come to us because we advocate for taking the tax savings that we find and reinvesting into the business in a financial planning way as well. So,
Okay.
they come to us with change in mind. So they're buying a house, they're having a baby, they're thinking about buying a business, they're looking at a merger or some kind of change that involves tax dollars going on. And, we take a look at their circumstances as it was up to 3 years ago for any opportunities to amend. We take a look at what's going on currently between their businesses, family goals, and we analyze, do a tax plan for what's going on right now, and project towards the future for where we can put those tax savings to best use.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's kind of our onboarding process. And then once we have that tax plan solidified, we determine if there's a need for an adjustment from the initial contract, and we finalize the engagement for an annual renewal.
Gotcha. So every new tax client, this is for individuals and for businesses, or is this just for businesses?
It's both.
It's both. Okay, so every new tax client, individual or business that you guys bring on, you're going through this process.
Yes.
Okay. And how do you communicate this to the client up front? What do you call it with the client? Do you bill it to the client? Is it like a line item on your proposal? Like, hey, we're doing your kind of onboarding process? Or do you just kind of bake that into your first year of working with the client?
So usually it depends on the circumstances because it depends what they're coming to us for. For instance, if they're trying to start a business and they don't have it established currently, they want us to
Sure.
help structure it, then we do like same thing. We look at their past returns and say, hey, what's been going on previously? What's going on right now? Where do you want to be? And what do you want this business to do for you? So with that, we'll do that same process, but charge a flat fee for the onboarding, um, just for our time to research and evaluate what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we lock them into a recurring contract. But if they already have an established business, then we still do that same process. We look at what the business has been doing for the last few years. We look at what it's doing currently, and we look at where they want to be. And we still charge that same flat fee onboarding and then determine those tax savings that the business can offer and lock them in for that annual recurring contract.
Gotcha. And out of curiosity, because this is something kind of tangential, but something that we're kind of working through right now. For your tax clients, when you say recurring contract, do you bill your contracts annually, or do you put people on monthly recurring billing, or do you do a combination of the two?
We offer 3 options: a monthly,
Okay.
a quarterly, or an annual. So in those circumstances, we always have an annual contract and it'll renew
Right.
every year on their anniversary date. But we offer 3 different billing options. So they can pay monthly and get, pay in full, like
Mm-hmm.
not pay in full, but no discount. They can pay
Gotcha.
quarterly and get like a 5 to 10% discount, or they can pay once for the whole year upfront and get approximately 20% discount.
Gotcha. Okay. And do you find out of curiosity, what do you find most people opt for?
Monthly.
Monthly. Most people opt for monthly. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
most
something
people
that,
opt for monthly. I think it's more feasible and for cash flow projection purposes,
sure.
um, to have that monthly standard amount that you're paying. But
Right.
some people like the discount. It depends
Right.
on their business structure and how their cash flow is. We don't
Sure.
do cash services, for example. We do tax advisory,
Mm-hmm.
but we do still. It's funny because I feel like we don't offer cash, but we still rely on the bookkeeping. Obviously, it's like the basis of
Sure.
all accounting. We
Right.
rely on good bookkeeping records in order to do what we do best. So we still have to look at the bookkeeping records to make sure that they're going to be a good fit.
Sure. Sure. And when you do you do that during your onboarding, like initial review of the books? Okay. And then you're giving the client feedback on like, hey, everything looks clean, or hey, this isn't what this is not what was advertised, right? Okay.
Exactly, which is why we wait until post onboarding to initiate the final contract for the annual renewal, because a lot of the times in the sales process, it's getting to know each other. It's understanding,
Sure.
hey, like, what do you want out of this relationship? Then the onboarding comes and says, hey, what can we actually do for this relationship? Is this going to be a good fit for us, really?
Sure.
Because we can talk all day long in the sales process about, well, we can do this for you, we can do that for you, but without looking at the documents and
Right.
combing through what exactly has been implemented previously and what we have the capacity to implement in the future, will it determine if we're going to be a good fit or not.
Yeah, and that's something that we've experienced as well. For tax, a lot of folks will call and they want to get right to insert kind of crazy thing they saw on Instagram or TikTok, and then we're like, okay, well, can we see the books? And we look at the books, and there's no clean, like we can't even generate a P&L, and it's like, my brother in Christ, like we can't do this for you until we until you can generate clean books for us, right? I mean, like we have to crawl before we can walk, and so yeah, I what we don't have, or what we don't have is a clean process, or I feel we don't have is a clean process for kind of weeding that out ahead of time. So we will typically, for folks that are bookkeeping and tax, we'll look at the books during the sales process, and we'll use that to inform kind of the bookkeeping side of our proposal. But for purely tax clients, we don't see the books. We typically don't see the books until it comes time to do the tax. And the way we kind of cover ourselves is we say, okay, within reason, any bookkeeping that has to happen in order to prepare the tax return, is included. But if we're doing cleanup, if we're having to actually clean up books, we just tack an hourly rate onto the proposal for that. But I don't love that because as much as possible, I try to avoid doing things hourly, and so it's interesting to me that you guys basically you see all the books for all your tax clients before they sign the actual tax proposal.
Yes, and it's honestly saved us so many times because we'll still get the flat fee for our time to investigate if we'll be a good fit, because I feel like our time to research and determine what exactly we have is worth time. Then we generate that tax plan. We determine if we're going to have an ongoing relationship with your bookkeeper, for example, or maybe your CAS firm. And then we'll go from there and just see if it's going to be a good fit.
Yeah. And so basically when I'm calling you and I'm saying, hey, Morgan, I've got a business and I need somebody to help me with my taxes. Step one is you're going to tell me, okay, we're going to put you on this first proposal, which is just an onboarding proposal or an investigative proposal. And that's okay. And then from there, we're doing the steps. If everything passes and we, everything works out and it's a good fit, then we'll do the secondary proposal, which is the actual work that you called in for.
Exactly. And we say our onboarding scope is to look at prior returns, look at current situations, develop a tax plan. That's essentially what we do in our onboarding scope. Then once we get to our recurring engagement, which is usually to file the tax returns, but sometimes people just want us to do like a tax plan and go from there, like and just the onboarding piece.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe they feel comfortable filing their returns on their own.
So your onboarding piece includes like an actual due out or an actual deliverable tax plan.
Yes, it gives estimates,
I gotcha. Okay.
But it doesn't have a strategy. Like the implementation strategies that we use to file the tax return are not included in that tax plan proposal, so to speak. It's more of kind of in stages, right? So our onboarding goes for looking at prior returns for opportunities for amendment, then our current situation analysis. Are you getting married? Are you having a baby? Are you switching jobs? Are you building a business? Are you buying a business? Figuring out what their goals are, right? Developing that tax plan based off of their goals and what we see in prior history. That deliverable doesn't include the strategies that we would actually use to implement tax returns we would use for future years.
Right. I gotcha. Okay.
It's more so like a proposal for the rest of the annual engagements going forward. Some people would rather take that tax plan and go to another tax preparer. Hey, if you're comfortable with your tax preparer and you've been working with them for 30 years and they're not planning on retiring, they want to, use opportunities to get you to save tax, but they don't know how. They're not necessarily tax strategizers, right? They prepare the return and you're comfortable with your tax preparer, fine. Take the tax plan and go to your tax preparer. And some of them take that as a proposal for a long-standing engagement for us to prepare their returns going forward, given how much we can save them.
Right. Yeah. No, and that makes sense because I guess one of my questions as you're talking me through this is how much friction does that inject into the sales process, right? Like how many potential clients do you have that come in and say, hey, well, I don't want to, and I don't know, this is a genuine question. I'm curious because I like the idea of what you're saying, but my devil's advocate is saying, well, are people going to come in and say, well, I don't want to pay for an onboarding, and then this, separate to the actual work that I'm looking for. And so you're saying that, I don't know, you're not saying, I'm saying by giving them a deliverable tax plan as part of that onboarding, I guess that helps mitigate some of that because they can see what they're getting in return for that onboarding fee.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. And you're right. Some people come and they say, well, I don't want to pay for a tax plan. And I say, well, do you pay your doctor for a consultation?
Sure. Sure. Right.
They have to assess your needs. They have to see what's been going on. What are your
Or
symptoms?
just go ahead and amputate. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you actually need the amputation or not?
Sure. No, that makes perfect sense. I like I said, I just I like the idea, at least from a client perspective, of tying some kind of deliverable or some kind of outcome to that initial thing versus just, hey, this is what it costs us to look into it, and we could look into you and just say no. And so that makes perfect sense. How do you, if you don't mind me asking, how do you price your onboarding or think through how you price your onboarding?
Sure. So it's not listed publicly. What's listed
Sure.
publicly are the recurring engagements.
Okay.
We just talk to people and see approximately how much time do they have access to their last 3 years tax returns, because that's been a hurdle sometimes too. Maybe they don't even, maybe their prior accountant just up and disappeared and they don't have copies anywhere. If do we have to pull transcripts from the IRS?
Yep.
Maybe their bookkeeping records really haven't been up to date. Are we going to need to either contract out the cleanup work or instruct them on how to get them up to date to the point where we can actually use them and advise on a tax plan? It
Sure.
depends on what exactly they come to us with. What problems are they coming to us with so that we can scope out what our onboarding is going to look like.
But from like a frameworks perspective, do you think through that as like from a value perspective and say, hey, what does this tax plan or this onboarding work to the client? Or do you guys think through it from like how long is it going to take me? Like how do you guys kind of think through how you assign a price to an individual client?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's more so value-based pricing because we
Okay.
estimate how much we can save them and how much the tax plan is going to save. Usually we are conservative with that estimate, and usually it's just in my brain, like, hey, you're
Sure.
a single member LLC, you have 2 children that could possibly work for the business. I start thinking of like some tax strategies in my head when I'm on the sales call, like, hey, this could be
Sure.
useful to you. Or, we we go through that process in the sales and just kind of estimate what exactly we could save them from a tax perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when we actually develop the tax plan, it can be 2 times, 3 times what I'm thinking in my head. It really depends on the documents they have available. If I know that we're going to have to go contact the IRS, that's definitely going
Right.
to be a different circumstance than if they have all of their stuff ready and they can accurately describe their tax situation, because sometimes I've run into that too, where people don't know what's going on with their tax situation.
Yeah, we've run into a couple of those, right, where you do the onboarding call or the sales call, and it's one thing, and then you kind of, as you peel back the weeds, like, oh my goodness, we're talking about something completely different, right?
Or I just forgot about those rental properties, or we started an international sub last year.
Yeah, right. We had one recently that during the sales call was like, yeah, we're a partnership, husband wife partnership, operating a franchise. And as we opened it up and started looking into it, it was a Rob's like C Corp setup, and the client had no idea. And
wow.
And so that blows up your scope, or it changes your scope pretty quick.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, because so on our end, like the way we do it right now, our engagement letter will include, and I don't have it in front of me, right? But it includes something to the effect of basically saying, hey, our quote or our proposal is based on the information that you gave us, right? And subject to change if the information you gave us turns out doesn't pan out. And so sometimes, if it's minor differences between what was advertised or what was discussed during the sales call and what ends up being the reality, sometimes we'll just eat it and say, okay, it's not a big deal, and or we'll make up for it at the renewal, right? But sometimes, like in that one, well, now we have to do a scope change, and we have to go back to the client and say, hey, look, we discussed this, but it turns out that you more closely resemble this, right? And we'll do the scope change. And I think to a degree that's that's inevitable, but I like the idea of what you're saying with your deliberate onboarding process of getting away from that as much as possible and identifying as much of that as possible up front. I can definitely see the advantage of that.
The issue comes throughout the year because if people, if you don't position yourself as an advisor and someone that they can come to with questions on a regular basis, I've come across situations where people, especially in the hourly fee module, where people feel like if they come to their account with a question, they're going to get a bill for talking to them for 10 minutes or something. Like with the
right.
legal fees, sometimes that can happen. But if they don't feel like you're available to them to ask questions, sometimes they wait until tax time to tell you, oh, by the way, we're going to have a child. Oh, by the way, we bought a house. Or, oh, by the way, we added another service item to our business.
Right. Sure. Right. Oh, well, that brings me to if you don't mind me asking about this, that brings us to kind of another juicy one. Which is, how do you think through your tax proposals? Like, do you do the 3-tier proposal, or do you guys just kind of make a recommendation to the client, say, hey, this is what you need and this is what it's going to cost?
Also a work in progress for our firm, but
Okay.
I love the 3-tier proposals. I've seen them work firsthand. And they're wonderful. We're actually considering a 4-tier proposal just based off of our client base. Some people really want compliance only, and some people want just the tax plan. Some people want full advisor mode. So there's definitely levels to each of those, but in general, I love a good 3-tier proposal, and I think visually speaking, it does wonders for people to be able to say yes.
Yeah, and are you doing these out of curiosity? What platform are you using for proposals?
We were using SmartPath just because they integrated with Smart Vault, supposedly. And I will say I'm very disappointed with SmartPath. We will not be we will not be renewing our subscription with SmartPath. We liked them because they were promised to have integrated with our document management system at the time, Smart Vault.
Sure. Right.
And it wasn't clean, and the features that we were sold on were not functional, which we came to find out several months into the implementation. So right now it's a very manual process for the 3-tiered proposals, and it just was not worth my time to be able to generate those 3-tier proposals with SmartPath. So, we were looking at other options, Ignition, Anchor, and we decided we didn't want to move forward with them at the time because we were looking for, it was kind of twofold. We wanted the 3-tier proposals, and we also wanted a software that would integrate with what we had going on with our workflow. We were working on our workflow at the time, transitioning to a tax planning advisory firm. So we've decided to, and also, onboarding employees, even part-time, we got feedback that having separate applications for all of that was difficult to train on. So we decided to look for practice management solutions and decided on Canopy for integration and having that holistic system to manage our billing, our proposals, our communications, and timekeeping for all of our teammates. So we're transitioning into Canopy currently, and
so Canopy can do your 3-tier, can do your proposals, has a proposal set up.
Not yet, and I'm holding out hope, and I know it seems a little silly given that we held out hope for SmartPath, but I've seen the beta. I was actually just doing some discussions with some of the internal team at Canopy about their payments processor, and they showed me the engagements module that has 3-tiered proposals in beta, and it looks pretty clean. So I'm excited for it. It's just not really set.
Gotcha. Yeah. Right now we use Ignition, and I really like some things about Ignition. I think it looks super clean, and I think that the mechanics of it from the client perspective, I think are very smooth, very clean, and I think have helped us, have definitely helped us close some additional or bigger proposals. That said, it is at least I feel it is expensive. We use Financial Sense as our practice management system. Financial Sense now has a 3-tier proposal system. I don't think it's quite as clean as Ignition, but it's baked into what we're already paying for Financial Sense. That's something we're looking at. And the other thing that I've had some frustrations with Ignition about has been processing fees. I think some of the fees are steep. Now, we bill most of those fees back to the clients, and so, like for credit card processing. So that one's not a huge issue. But if you were a firm that wasn't, if for whatever reason you didn't want to bill credit card processing back to the client, I could see it being steep. I think Ignition's is a little bit more expensive than Financial Sense. But overall, we have really liked Ignition. So I'm saying all the negatives. Overall, we've really liked it.
Awesome.
It's something that I'm looking at. Our renewal is here in like a month or less than a month. I got an email about it like the other day. So it's on my list of things I need to go look at and
I completely get it.
Yeah.
My mentor is a private CPA. He's a sole practitioner, and he is completely against processing fees. Totally.
I know some people. It's like a hit or miss. Some people are like, I've had a lot of people tell me like they think it's tacky or they think it's like it's not. I don't know. It's not professional or whatever. So I get it, right? And like I said, that's in our Realize group we had somebody say the same thing, and I was like, well then I probably wouldn't use Ignition because the processing fees are kind of steep. Or you just bake it into your overall price, not.
Well,
as
he's
a
had
separate
people
line
say
item.
something about that too. If he were to, people have asked him if he takes credit cards, and he says he doesn't like, paying the processing fees, and they say, well, isn't that part of the cost of doing business as a
Oh,
professional?
so he won't take it.
Nope, he won't take credit
I got
cards.
you. So he won't even take. Okay, I got you.
Nope, it's cash or check, and he's completely against payment processors. And I don't know. Me personally, I would feel that if I offered that to my clients would feel that I'm less accessible because a lot of my business is remote and a lot of his business is in person. He's very much a brick and mortar, want to sit across the table from a client kind of practitioner, and his clients are like that as well. My client base is not. They're very remote. They're distributed. They a lot of the times don't even want to get on a call. So
sure.
Yeah, less so.
We're the same way. We bill it back to the clients. I haven't had anybody complain. I do tell people that if they just link, Ignition, you can link a bank account and do ACH, and the fee is like nothing, and then we cover the fee. And so I do tell people like, hey, you can save a little bit of money if you just do ACH. Plus, your card doesn't expire, so it's a win-win.
And some people use their banks directly too. I've heard that recently.
Yeah, right. But so we haven't had any pushback on the processing fees, but I have heard it from other folks. From other practitioners, they're like, the hesitation about billing processing fees. I was curious about that. But going back to the 3-tier proposals then. So when you do your 3-tier proposals, how do you differentiate them? I know that this could be a whole can of worms, but how do you kind of think through is it the same for individual tax versus business tax, the way you structure it, or is it different?
So right now, we're also in the working in progress to adjust our packages this year.
Sure.
Previously, we had them kind of siloed. Like these two packages were kind of, if you were a business client, you couldn't be in our lowest 2 tiers. If you
for your individual taxes or for
all of them, so
just
they
holistic.
are
Okay.
Yeah, like our packages weren't necessarily form based, and they said, hey, if you're a 1040, you can be only on this one. If you're an 1120S, you could only be on this one. Not necessarily. We just kind of had broad packages that included service delivery options. Like if you needed support with IRS representation, it would be kind of in this package, whether you were a business or individual. But lately, we've been thinking about how we're going to adjust our packages going forward. And I think, going forward, we are going to be transitioning more to service delivery based packages and say, you get access to me this amount of time and in this way with this package. You get a certain amount of notice responses with this package. You get a personalized phone number where you can access my cell phone number with this package. I might bite myself later for that, but
fair. But I got that's more in line with what we do. We'll do for business and individuals. So for folks that have both, there's one proposal for the individual and one proposal for the entity. So we treat them as two separate clients. And so, but within individual or entity or business returns, we'll have three proposals. Right now we've kind of dropped down to two. But for the time being, but basically, so I should say we have two proposals right now that we're using, and one is what we call compliance, which is just, hey, we're going to do the tax return, and we're going to give you a detailed feedback on the tax return. And there's a couple other things, but that's the gist of it. Is we're going to do your tax return. It's a once a year type relationship, and you're going to get good feedback with some advice, right? And a lot of the times, that feedback I think is an opportunity for a win-win, because if we can identify potential savings for you, we're going to do that. But most folks don't want to do the implementation themselves, and so then we can upsell on the implementation. So that's kind of the base level, and then we do what we call collaboration, which for tax is basically everything we just said. We're going to do the return. We're going to give you a detailed review of the return, but in addition, we'll do notice assessments. Any notices you get, we'll review the notice and determine next steps. And then the big one is access for quick questions, which has been, basically you can reach out throughout the year with whatever questions you have. And that's worked well. That's worked well, but I'm kind of thinking through how we define quick questions and maybe making it a little bit more structured versus
quick questions will get you every time.
Right, because some folks, will pay the upcharge for quick questions, and they'll call us one time during the year, and great. And then other folks, it's like every 2 weeks they want to schedule a call, and so I'm trying to think through that. But so far, overall, I think it's worked out well. Really, what we're trying to figure out before we do renewals is how to add a third. How do we add in a third level? And what would we include in that third level, right? Whether it's mid-year projection or notice response, kind of baked in at a flat fee. So that's kind of the stuff we're thinking about. Any resolution we have to do, we bill hourly, just because it's hard to anticipate, what resolution will entail. But yeah, that's kind of how we structure it right now. So we're on the same page. We're on the same page as you guys. We're in flux going into renewals.
Yeah, and trying to figure out the stuff that's hard to anticipate and how to bundle it so that they get their end result and productize it. That's really what we're struggling with at this point. And it's funny you mention representation too, because I don't think I mentioned this previously, but I'm actually starting this firm so that I can study to be a tax attorney. That's where I want to go. At one point in my life, there's I have a whole 10-year vision for
10-year plan.
Yeah, for where Tranquil Transactions is going to be at that time, and a lot of it involves social justice and tax reform. So tax attorney is definitely in my future, and with that, I wonder how attorneys bill all the time, because you can never anticipate how a court case or some kind of litigation is going to
Is gonna
go.
go.
So it's almost like you have to bill hourly. You have to track your time.
Right.
You have to understand how much work you're putting into it in order to find out your value in that regard and how people will compensate you for that. So it's interesting how representation cases usually go because they could you could write a letter and be done. You could write a letter and launch a whole investigation.
Right. Right. Right.
It's
No,
hard
and
to
that's
anticipate that.
right. And so yeah, we've stuck to hourly for all of that. But we don't. You know, as it stands right now, we don't package it in with kind of the other packages, and so that's something that we're kind of thinking through. Is maybe even if we're going to bill it hourly, is there a way we can structure it or package it where there's like a preferred rate if it does happen? I don't know. That's all kind of stuff that we're thinking through as we kind of approach the bulk of our renewals. But you bring up something interesting. So kind of pivoting towards like the future and what you have, what's down the road for you and for the firm. So right now, you just mentioned, right? So your plan is to go back to school and become a tax attorney.
Yep.
Are
That
you
is
in
the
school
goal.
right now? Have you started, or is that like coming up?
Nope, it's coming up. Right now,
Okay.
I would say it's definitely more towards the end of the 10-year vision. Right now, I'm actually focusing on the CFP so that I can do more with financial planning from our tax savings. That's what our clients
Gotcha.
need right now. You know, we're
Mm-hmm.
identifying the tax savings, and they want to
Now
know.
what? Right.
They want to know, what do I do with it? How do I use this tax savings to grow my business or invest in my family or start another revenue stream maybe? So we're focusing on the CFP right now to get that under our belt. I'm kind of going back and forth between whether I should do the PFS certification. I forget exactly what that financial professional, I think, but it's
Gotcha.
exclusive
Okay.
certification for CPAs, or the certified financial planner
The
certification.
CFP. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so we're choosing between those two options right now. I think there's more optics for the CFP certification,
Sure.
but we'll see. And with that, we'll be able to provide full-on financial plans for our clients.
Mm-hmm.
We do kind of touch into that right now with the tax planning
Sure.
and strategizing. We provide some financial plans, but it's not as in depth as what like a financial
Right. And you're
planner
limited in
would
what
do.
you can. Right. Right.
Right. So, yeah, going that route to start maybe for the next couple of years. Then law school, that's going to be at least a 4 or 5 year journey for us and our family purposes. I have young children, so it's not going to be full time. I definitely still anticipate to be working in my business during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And once we, graduate law school, solidify um, our business in like the market, I want to take that opportunity to build a wellness center around financial literacy as it relates to, like I said, that social justice aspect of our firm. Taking what I've learned in law school and with uh, the financial budget and what's going on politically in today's environment, take that almost into like a nonprofit wing and launch more of our wellness center aspect. So by the end of 10 years, we will, have financial planning under our belt, be able to do maybe guide on legal aspects related to their business, and then have a whole arm related to body awareness, where these kinds of feelings are coming as far as financial concerns in our bodies, and be able to work through those in a wellness center.
Gotcha. So the vision is for long term to expand beyond just doing tax, into tax as it relates to financial planning, and then as financial planning relates into kind of overall wellness. That's kind of the vision.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's super cool. And how do you when you so you mentioned like the kind of the nonprofit aspect of it, or giving back, social justice aspect of it. What does that look like to you? Like, what's the what kind of inspired you to go that route, and why is that something you're looking at doing?
Well, primarily for BIPOC peoples, financial literacy is just not something that our families have provided to us over the course of the last, centuries, several centuries. So giving back to the community in the course of financial literacy, understanding, I hate to say tax loopholes, but the tax, code and how it can work to, generate your business and your goals
How to
for,
play the game, sure.
yeah, your goals for financial security, and then also how that impacts you personally and your family lineage over time, I think is
Yeah.
something that a lot of us struggle with.
Yeah.
So giving back to the
No, I think that's
community,
super cool.
yeah, in that basic, how do I feel about money? How do I feel about my family and what we can do with money to help our family over generations grow? I think is
Mm-hmm.
something that's severely, needed and missed in today's landscape.
No, I agree. And I'm super the financial literacy piece especially I think is something that that you're right, that is missing for a lot of people. And and I think it doesn't take a ton, but a lot of folks, like you said, a lot of people don't get it. It's not something that you get, you know, from the education system. It's not, and so if you don't have it at home growing up, um, where do you get it, right? And it's such an important piece of life and of winning and of, however you define that. But just, feeling secure, feeling happy, being fulfilled, etc. So I think that's super cool.
And
I
I think
one of
it
the
kind
things.
of feeds into each other too. Like, it's almost intentional that it wasn't provided so that you would feel a certain way to be able to be productive in society. Or at least, how do I say? Like, if you are growing up understanding that money comes in exchange for time, and what you do with your time specifically, benefits one person or one entity in particular, that you're going to be like beholden to that person, that entity for the rest of your life, for your survival. I think a lot of people underestimate how that affects you, uh, emotionally, spiritually too. So having that financial literacy open up opportunities for ways to develop that outside of that one entity, one person, or,
Yeah.
I think it's spiritually freeing.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I saw that a lot in the army. That, which again, that's my background. And there was a lot of folks that I worked with that were not having fun anymore and had not been having fun for a while, but because of a lack of financial literacy and basic understanding of personal finance, weren't able to put themselves in a position to go do something else, and felt kind of stuck, right? And so that's kind of that's kind of how it's manifested and kind of what I've seen. But I think you're
Yeah.
right, and it's not, this stuff's not rocket science, right? But it's just being able to provide it where it's missing. So I think that's really cool.
It's intentionally complicated in my opinion, and that's part
Yeah.
of the social justice aspect I get from this, is that, people who grow up in poverty or, are, you know completely socially, culturally disadvantaged to understanding these kinds of loopholes and tax circumstances, like, they're just so underrepresented, and they need, um assistance to be able to get where they want to be in America, frankly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that starts with the tax system.
Sure. No, and I'm with you. The more, since kind of embarking on my own accounting journey, that's one of the things that I've definitely been surprised by, and continue to be surprised by, is just how overly complicated the tax system is. In a lot of cases, needlessly complicated. But anyway, that's a whole other can of worms. We'll go ahead and move to our kind of closeout questions. And so these are 5 questions that we're asking every person that comes on. Kind of short. They're not rapid fire. Feel free to elaborate, but just kind of short, close-ended questions. And so the first one is if you have one, what is your favorite business book?
Ooh. Okay, so it's a little woo-woo, so don't quote me on it.
Okay.
My, my favorite business book, and it's not a traditional business book, but it's something that I took personally along my journey, and what helped me get into the mindset of offering this financial literacy nonprofit social justice idea. It's called Sacred Economics by Charles Eisenstein. He is a yoga teacher just like myself, and he's a Yale graduate. I think he studied economics at Yale, and he just is one of the most brilliant authors that I've ever read. He has a few books, but Sacred Economics was his first relating his studies to economics and spirituality. And for me, it was kind of the basis for my philosophy about Tranquil Transactions. I loved it.
Sweet. So we said Sacred Economics. I have not read that, but it's going on my list. I'm a big business book guy, and so I'm always looking for more to add to the lineup. So I will definitely check it out. Thank you for sharing. Okay. And then second question, what is one tool or system that your firm could not run without?
Well, right now I would say Canopy.
Canopy. Yeah.
We're moving all of our systems onto Canopy and hoping for the best. I had some questions about their data backup because across my network I did see one instance where somebody, let's say they had an update and somebody lost a couple of pieces of important data that was causing some operations issues in their firm. So I had some questions for them about their data backup, and especially because we were renewing our WISP and going over our information security plan this year. So I have some data security concerns, but not enough where we wouldn't consider putting everything onto Canopy.
Gotcha. Okay. And how long have you been on Canopy? How far back did you make the switch?
We just started about a month ago, so
you're just doing it now. Okay. You're in it. Yeah. Building it all out. Well, this is the time of year to do it. I think you're wise to do it now versus in a few months. So glad you were able to get it in before everything gets busy.
I would say before Canopy, the one tool that I could not live without was a time tracking platform called Timular. It had a...
Timular. I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, Timular. It transitioned to Early, I believe, a couple months ago. But it's a time tracking software that came with this cute little die. Here, I'll show you my little dice.
That's cool.
And the idea was that to time track, people have to open a spreadsheet, start a timer, do something outside of, or like just have like an extra task to do to track time. And with this, I was able to switch a die, move the dice over one side to the other to start tracking tasks. And it has 8 sides. So I had 8 opportunities to, track time. And it also connected with Zapier. So I was able to use it with different softwares and, for instance, change my Slack status whenever I was on a meeting and track time efficiently. It had little keyboard shortcuts where I could put notes and stuff like that. So it made time tracking so easy.
So you basically map each side of the die to some bucket of time or category of time tracking, and then all you have to do is just flip the die over. That's basically. Yep. That's really cool. Because, man, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is we track time, not for billing purposes, but mostly just for our own internal, decision making and data. But man, like sometimes you're deep in a project and it's whatever, but a lot of times I'm like jumping around between things, and oh my god, it drives me up a wall. So
trust me,
think that's
I know.
Cool.
It was great. Honestly, I got it when I was working at that regional firm in 2018, and I still had a timesheet, so I I never filled out my timesheet on time. It was a big thing. So, and because my role was so diversified, I had a bunch of different tasks that I was doing throughout the day. So, using this time tracker was like a lifesaver for me because I would just go through. It would take me like sometimes up to 2 hours to fill out my timesheet for the week if I wasn't on top of it every day. And using this made it so much easier to just do a hotkey, type in some notes about what I was doing, and move on. It would minimize from my screen. I could still focus on whatever I was doing. I could quickly check what I was tracking if I needed to. It was honestly a lifesaver for me to get my timesheets in on time, and the partners were very happy.
That is really cool. I'm definitely going to check that one out because that is something that, that I think everybody can everybody can relate to is the joys of tracking time. Well,
I think
sweet.
I found that app in like a best of business software magazine in like 2017.
Well, I wrote it down. Like I said, you said Timular, now known as Early.
Correct.
Well, like I said, I'm definitely going to check it out. See, that's cool. That's why I'm asking that question. That's a great little plug. Well, sweet. What events or conferences, if any, are you planning on going to in the next year?
This is a hard one because I have been looking into it. Honestly, we really haven't done a lot of in-person marketing, like I said, or networking for that matter. We've been mostly getting a lot of our business development from referrals, but I've found the need recently to connect with other accountants in my, maybe not exactly in my field, but just other accountants. Yep. And I've been looking into a bunch of conferences for that reason. If not for business development, to network and find out like, hey, what's good with other accountants? So I've been looking into Tax Retreat, the tax Twitter one. That one's really cool, and I love Colorado, so I think that one's high up on my list. I've been looking into oh my goodness, what's the one? I listen to the Unique CPA podcast a lot, and Randy Crabtree hosts. Randy Crabtree hosts, or Tri-Merit. They host their own tax conference for. Oh my gosh, it's like associated with his story of burnout and
Bridging the Gap. Is it Bridging the Gap? Matt,
thank you.
Yeah, Bridging the Gap.
It's Bridging the Gap, that one. I'm interested in going to Bridging the Gap. Really, those are the main two. There's one that I was looking at that focuses on sustainable finance out in Geneva, which was really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I have been, in some of my other work, I've been looking at some VC-backed companies that are experimenting with sustainable agriculture and how to use finance to give back to the community, again, with that social justice spark in me. And sustainable finance is a concept that I've just really wanted to get more involved in, so I've been looking at that one. I'm going to tell you the name in a second.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. Is it, Matt, is it Sustainable Finance Geneva? Matt's over here with the cheat codes. You can't share your screen, can you, Matt?
I can, but
that's okay.
Oh, it's actually called Building Bridges.
Building Bridges. Okay, cool. I'm gonna make a note on that one. That's cool.
It's a
anything
Geneva
that gets you
for sustainable finance.
Anything that involves traveling to Geneva, I think, is a win.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been, so that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. No, cool. And I hear you on the wanting to interact with or have more connections with other folks in the accounting space. That's part of why I'm asking that question, because I'm trying to figure out which ones we want to go to, and get to know more folks kind of in our space in person, because I think that, I mean, it's hard to beat that. And that's also part of why we decided to start doing this, is like, is to just get to know as many people in the space as possible, and and learn, the to-dos and the not to-dos from everybody else, and just like have people to talk to make sure you're not going crazy and that you're not, your left field idea is not too far out there. So
For real, because the
that.
last thing my husband wants to do is talk shop with me.
Yeah, no, is your husband an accountant? No, okay.
Not in the slightest.
Yeah.
He is an artist. He's
Okay. Yeah, so other side of the brain, maybe. I guess it depends on the day, but
he studies film production.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, my wife is many things, but accountant is not one of them, and I'm with you. She will be like, dude, just spare me. I don't care. And so it's tough, yeah. So I get that. I get that need. Well, very cool. Okay, so we got two more. So question number 4, what are your hobbies? And you already kind of mentioned yoga, so I'm guessing, well, I'll let you talk me through it. But yeah, what are your hobbies? What do you do in your free time?
Yeah, I mean, I love yoga. Obviously, I'm 500-hour certified, and I feel like it has been such an insurmountable, well, such a like personal piece of who I've become is becoming a yoga instructor. So much so that I've gotten tattooed for my yoga practice, and I feel like I wouldn't be who I am now without it. And the same thing goes for being a wife and mom. So I spend a lot of time with my children.
Yep.
Not necessarily tattooed, but they've definitely left their mark.
Fair.
So, yeah, I mean, I read as much as I possibly can. I love reading newsletters in the financial space. I love reading books that integrate mindfulness and financial aspects. They're hard to find, but there's definitely a lot in there with like financial literacy, mindfulness around money. I've considered getting a financial therapist certification for that reason, just kind of diving into what it means to feel about money and how to interpret what you're feeling about money. I think it's critical, and not a lot of people would talk about it, especially people from disadvantaged communities. A lot of me personally growing up was we don't talk about money. So I think a lot of people share that sentiment, and understanding what it is to feel something about money is crucial to a lot of people's upbringing.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I read, I tend to my children, I have a deeply ingrained yoga practice. Those are my main hobbies.
I have a little bit of I went through like a 1-month period where I did yoga with Adrian on YouTube after I hurt my back in the Army, and I've always been like the guy who's like, oh, I don't need to stretch, and I did like a month of yoga, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And
I need to stretch.
I'm just I need to stretch. Yeah, exactly. That's something that. I think that the yoga I think is definitely worth its weight in gold. It's something I should start doing again, because I swear that being like working at a desk all day and doing accounting has aged my body. Like doing it, just the last 2 years of doing this has aged my body way more than 9 years of playing Army did. So
and you know what?
The stretching is real.
It's not even just body too. What I love about yoga, and what I personally take mostly from yoga, is emotional regulation. Especially having children, emotions are all over the place. So yoga has, been such a critical piece of me being able to, like I said, pass the CPA exams, because that persistence and mindfulness about how I'm feeling has helped drive me through so many of these life changes. So.
No, that's very cool. Definitely the mindfulness piece of it is something I could probably use a little more of. I'm looking at Matt, but no, right on. Well, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so our last question is where can people go to connect with you or to find out more about you?
Sure, we can go to Instagram, Facebook. I'm all over those two platforms. Meta girl, so to speak. But yeah, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me at Tranquil Transactions or at Right CPA. I have both now.
Right on. Well, sweet. Well, perfect, Morgan. Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and chat and kind of sharing about your background and your firm. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a pleasure meeting you and talking through everything. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, and yeah, we'll look forward to keeping in touch and chatting again.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Nick. Appreciate it.
All right, so that was our interview with Morgan. Matt, what'd you think?
I thought that it was a really great first episode, and I think that there is a lot to be learned. Like I said, I think she's, coming from an accounting background since high school, she's a little bit further in the business structuring side of things, maybe. And she had some unique insights, especially, like we said in the intro, about onboarding. And I think that maybe we should look into demoing a version of something like that. If I mean, what do you think?
No, I mean, I totally agree. I like I said, like we said in the intro, I mean, her onboarding system is definitely something that I want to take a deeper look at, and seeing how we could execute something similar in our firm around tax. But yeah, I mean, that was fascinating. I also we kind of ran out of time at the end, but I really liked. We'll have to have her back, but I really liked kind of what she was saying towards the end about wrapping tax and traditional accounting services in with kind of financial literacy and the financial planning.
Yeah, she had like a whole there was like a whole synthesis of ideas surrounding accounting being sort of like the cornerstone of an overall financial wellness. And
like I said, we kind of ran out of time. But yeah, I mean, all in all, great interview. We really appreciate Morgan taking the time to come on, and it was great getting to know her. Our episode schedule, we plan on releasing these every Wednesday across all podcast platforms, so wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. So our ask to you is as we get this going and we continue to improve and kind of refine our systems for how we bring this out and get this to you, is please, wherever you listen to podcasts, leave us a comment, give us feedback. Our goal is to make the show as good as possible and
valuable for
valuable,
people in the accounting industry. Definitely send us some feedback of how we can improve and what you enjoyed.
Yeah, what you'd like to see. And look, if you'd like to be a guest, we'll go ahead and leave a link in the show notes. We'd love to have you on. Like I said, the goal is to get to know as many folks who are out there running accounting firms as we possibly can. And if you did enjoy it, please leave us a review or share it with another firm owner or aspiring firm owner who might stand to gain something from it. So, did I miss anything, Matt?
Nope. Thank you for listening.
Excellent. All right. We'll see you guys in the next one.